We begin with breaking news on Libya as the internationally recognised government pulls out of ceasefire talks after warlord Khalifa Haftar's forces hit Tripoli in a rocket attack. 3 civilians were killed in the assault on the city's port. All fuel vessels have been ordered to leave for safer waters. And Libya's national oil company says there will be major disruption to schools, hospitals and power stations. The Tripoli-based government insists the UN-mediated meetings cannot continue until the world takes a clear stand on what it calls Haftar's violations. Well, in a moment, the latest from Tripoli with Mahmoud Abdelwahed. But first, our diplomatic editor, James Bays, joins us live from Geneva, where the talks were taking place. James, I don't know whether you've managed to get any reaction yet, but in a way, is it surprising that they've decided to halt the talks with what's going on across in Tripoli?
No, if you're trying to sit down around a table and the aim is to get a durable ceasefire in Libya, and you're sitting down with the other side who has been shelling your capital city for many months, and they start shelling you again the moment those talks start and continue throughout the day as the talks are supposed to continue, then you probably, I think, do have some doubts about the good faith of the other side in these negotiations. That, I think, is the reason that you have the statement that's come out late at night from Tripoli saying that the government of National Accord, the GNA, the internationally recognised government, is pulling out of this process at this stage. What we've had is talks of the so-called Joint Military Commission. That's 5 representatives of the GNA and 5 representing General Haftar. This was the first day of the second round of these talks. And as I say, they were trying to get a ceasefire, and on that, in a week's time, they were trying to build a much bigger talks programme, which would have representatives from all political groups in Libya here in Geneva. Certainly this is a very big blow for the United Nations. Aljazeera has been in touch with representatives of the UN mission in Libya who are here in Geneva. UNSMIL, Ghassan Salami, who is leading this process, is the UN special representative. No statement from them on his behalf at this stage, and I suspect that's because they are right now trying to work out the way forward. We've also contacted the office of the UN spokesperson for the Secretary General in New York, and no response from either place yet. But I suspect the UN are doing all they can to try and have some damage limitation. Remember, all of this process is backed by the international community. Just days ago in Munich, at the Munich Security Conference, foreign ministers came together and supported this process. So I suspect some of those countries are going to be speaking to the government in Tripoli. Others, I suspect, are putting pressure on General Haftar to stop his military action.
That's James Bays there with the diplomatic picture in Geneva. Let's move across to Mahmoud Abdelwahed, who joins us now live from Tripoli. Quite a lot of confusion as to exactly what it was that Khalifa Haftar's forces were firing on. 1 minute we were told it was a Turkish ship carrying weapons. The next minute they seem to have rolled back from this. What do you know about what's going on in the port at the moment?
Well, Turkey has denied what Haftar's local media posted earlier, that they targeted a shipment of weapons. But here in the capital, Tripoli, the government of National Accord is calling on the international community to bring the perpetrators to international justice. Now, the NOC, that's the state oil firm here in the capital, Tripoli, stated that it has evacuated all tankers loaded with gas and fuel from the port to prevent, as it says, environmental and humanitarian disaster because of the multiple attacks on the port, the only and biggest port in the capital city, Tripoli. The government of National Accord is also saying that it is not going to proceed in the military track that's part of the 3 tracks according to Berlin recommendations. And the military commission that met today in Geneva is not, according to the government of national accord, is not meeting tomorrow, as the government is protesting the multiple and frequent violations, as it says, by Haftar's forces of the ceasefire. It seems that the government of national accord is trying to bring the international community to bring to their attention that Haftar's forces have been violating the ceasefire. And as the head of the United Nations Support Mission in Libya mentioned today in Geneva on the margin of the military commission meetings, that they documented 150 violations of the ceasefire since January the 12th. That's when both warring factions stated that they are abiding by the ceasefire. Also,
Mahmoud, can I just ask you one
government
question?
of national accord here, namely the health ministry, said that 3 civilians were killed and 5 others wounded in these attacks on the port on Tuesday.
Let me just ask you this one quick question. The government is where you are is basically saying that they want, as you say, that want the UN and the rest of the world to recognise Haftar's violations, and they want the world to make a clear stand. What is it that clear stand would be?
Well, first of all, the government is calling on the international community to bring the perpetrators to justice. The government says that these attacks have been targeting civilian areas, government facilities, along with also residential areas during the past few months. So also the government is sticking to one prerequisite in order for the government to proceed in any peace talks with Haftar, that Haftar's forces must pull out from southern Tripoli as a prerequisite for the government to proceed in any peace talks with the forces loyal to the warlord Khalifa Haftar.
Many thanks for that update, Mahmoud Abdul Wahad, there in Tripoli.